Dzień dobry, good morning. Who is not speaking Polish? Good. Okay, I do speak Polish, but I prefer to speak in English because it's easier for me. So we begin. My name is Gabriele Carboni. I'm from Weevo, an Italian company. The speech is about a new Drupal website for the Italian Registry. Does everybody know what a registry is? I guess so. Yes. Stay this side. So Weevo is a marketing planning and web communication company which works in Italy, but with Italian companies and also foreign companies. We use marketing to identify the distinction and to let web communication for companies to be a real touch point for their customers. So why choose us? We understand and communicate complex realities in a simple way. What does it mean? It means that we have the knowledge and the experience to help big companies to communicate with their potential customers with simple strategies, which is not always easy. Define what distinguishes your company or your product or yourself from the competitors. The digital strategy, we developed the digital strategy through another tool we invented, which is the Visual Communication Planner. I'm going to tell you about it today as well. Of course, we build websites with Drupal. In Italy, WordPress is more used, maybe all over the world. But we found that Drupal is the best options for big websites, also, but also for small websites. We have copywriters, so we write the content for the website and the social media and so on. And of course, then we manage the social media and the web advertising for the company. So my name is Gabriele Carboni again. I usually gave speeches about web strategies for international markets, so how to approach international markets through web marketing, which is what I mostly do. This is the card that I was talking about. I was in Madrid last week. We've been on the podium of the best marketing innovation awards. It's something you want to check if you need to understand why your clients buy to you or should buy to you from your company. I also wrote a book about the web strategies to approach international markets. And as you can read, I'm not a developer. So why am I here? Actually, as I told outside to some guys, I wrote a module for Drupal 7. One night I was not sleeping, but it's not my job. So what is that I'm talking to you about today is about the project management of this big website. But I want also to tell you how I sold this website, because I'm also the sales guy, the salesman of my company. Because it's about something in Poland you know very well, they know very well. And specifically, of course, it's about one of the best Polish vodka they have here, which is Żubrówka. Why? Because I used to live in Krakow 1 year, 11 years ago, and so I know a lot of the Polish culture. And why vodka connected people? Because relationships in the sales strategies are very important. So in Italy we have a sort of a club, the web marketers of my town. We meet every 3 or 4 months, and we just talk about anything, not just work. But from the very first time we've met, I brought one of these bottles. So we also have fun when we meet. We were drinking the Żubrówka, and I was, as a salesman, talking about what my company does. So I talked about Drupal. We are in the northern Italy, the northern part of Italy, in the Emilia-Romagna. I don't know if you know the region name, which is where Ferrari was born. And we are the only one company who works with Drupal. So I was talking about Drupal because it's something that differentiates our company from the competitors. Then, 2 years after, the Registro.it, which is the entity, the public entity who manage the .it domains, they started a tender, a public tender. It was a big public tender because it was about 800,000 euros for 3 years activities, in which there was also the website, which was just a tiny part of it, but anyway. And when they launched this tender, one of the specifications they wanted was that the website must have built in Drupal. 7 or 8, it was important, Drupal. And as in maybe also in Poland or in your countries, not many agencies know Drupal. They usually work with WordPress or they have their own content management system. So the guy I was talking about drinking the vodka 2 years before remembered that I had a company working with Drupal, and he was the only one in the room smiling when they say, well, we want a Drupal website. So that's how we managed to sell this project. Well, as I guess any registry in the world, also the Italian one is a center of traffic. It's a big website where many visitors, mostly agencies or resellers, they use this website, especially the Whois feature, to check if the domain is available or if it's let's say if it's set correctly. So it's a big website that doesn't sell actually anything because it's a public entity. They don't sell anything. They just list all the companies where you can buy the .it domains, but they are just an information website. They had already a Drupal 6 website, and as I said, they released a public tender. And just to enter the public tender, you had to be able to build your website in Drupal. So it was very specific feature they asked for. And why? Because they also had a Drupal 6 website and an IT team working on it. And you know, when you are working on a content management system or a project and using a specific technology, you want to keep the technology, just not to have to learn a new technology again, right? So this is why they asked for a new website in Drupal. The other problems they had is that they were connected this website with also their own custom build web apps like the Whois or any statistical features. And as you of course know, Drupal is very open to communicate with other applications. Also, the communication team needed a website more content-oriented. Also, Drupal 6 was content-oriented. All the Drupal project is content-oriented, but maybe the agency who built the website before was not focused on the content matter. So the communication team needed a website more driven by content than technology. So we have to build a website that was making happy the communication team, but also the IT team as well. This is the old website. Even if you like it or not, because design is always about you and how you feel about the design, it was very poor. This is the home page. They only had this space to promote their content, and they started 2 years ago to promote a lot the registro.it and the .it domains. So they needed something, not only the home page, but the whole website. They needed a space to communicate their promotional stuff, even if they don't sell anything, but they need to promote the content. So the small and medium enterprises in Italy, they understand they need a .it domain, because I don't know if it's the same case in Poland, or in your country, but in Italy, many small companies do not have a website, and if they have a website or an email, they don't have a private domain. So many professionals in Italy, they have a Gmail account, or we have libero.it, which is like wp.pl, so they don't have their own domain. So the goal of the registry is, well, not to register more IT in general, but it's to make companies and professionals in Italy to understand they need a domain, they need internet to communicate. So this website was not able to help them to communicate their stuff. So the first point is, why Drupal 8 and not Drupal 7? I'm talking about 2017. They made the tender in 2017, and we started the project last year, in the beginning of last year. So Drupal 7 or Drupal 8 was indeed a question, because even if many useful modules for Drupal 7 was not ready yet at that time for Drupal 8, we anyway chose the latest version because of the possibility of having long-term support and updates and its improvements. So nowadays you choose Drupal 8 and that's it. If you don't have some features you need to, how to say, if you need to build in Drupal 7, we also still manage some Drupal 6 websites, but anyway, if we want to build a new website, we usually choose Drupal 8 because it's the one who is going to last more. I don't know if you agree with this. And as you probably know, multi-language support has been improved. The release of successive functionalities are simplified, so updates are simplified. There is a new modern software architecture built on Symfony. You know, Symfony is a framework that you can use also outside Drupal, and more benefits from PHP 7, and also, as I said, the residual life cycle. It's better on Drupal 8, of course. So since we are talking about today the project management, here are the threats we encountered as we started the project. So a public entity always have some eyes on it. So if you build a new website for a public entity, the moment you release it, everybody is going to look at it and tell, this is bad, or this is wrong, or I would have done it differently, right? The IT team is always, the IT team of a customer is always something you want to keep a friend, because they usually have their own problems and they do not want you to put other problems to them. Also, as an institution in Italy, the website needed to be accessible to people with disabilities, which limited the creative choices. It means less JavaScript, less creativity, less animations, or even if it's not JavaScript, even if it's CSS3 or whatever, also HTML5, if I well remember, some stuff is not good for accessibility. And also, this was the biggest part, we needed to drive a team of 12 people because there was a tender with other 3 companies. We worked together on this website, and we had to manage the UX guy, the graphic designer, of course the developers, and the client itself. So they wanted a website very UX driven. So in the team, three people in the team were focused on the UX. UX tests and designs were made by another company. The graphic layout by, again, another company. So 3 companies working on the same website and the client providing the content, which is, for us, is always something that creates problems, because if it's the client who has to write the content, then he's not always on schedule, or they say they're going to write the content and then they don't have the content. I don't know if you encounter this kind of situation. And also the need of a strategy before deciding what kind of website to do. Strategy means to whom I want to sell, so the market, the target market, the marketing distinguish, so why should I buy your product, and the goal you have for your website. This is why we always start, even if the final activity of the strategy is to build, in this case, a website, we always start with a strategy. So we work with the client, and this is something I do mostly. We work with the client to let them understand to whom they are selling or communicating, why the users going to the website should choose that website. In the case of registry, it's easy because they are the only registry, of course, in Italy, so there is no choice. The goals of the communications in marketing strategy, or mostly in web marketing strategy, the problem is that it's not about the website, but usually our customers start thinking that the goals of a web marketing communication is to have more followers on Instagram or Twitter, or more likes on Facebook. But as far as I know, and I'm sure it's the same here in Poland, you cannot pay the bills with the followers or the likes. So keeping in mind what are the goals of the communication is very important. The budget in this case was not a problem, because they made a public tender. We have this money, and it's up to you to decide how much you want to put on the website, and so on. So if you want to take a look on this tool, you can find it on this visualcommunicationpanel.com website. You can download it for free. There are the slides, and it's very easy for everyone to develop or define marketing strategy. So what were the phases of the project? We started analyzing the needs of the clients, of course. Then we designed the graphic and also the backend. And then we realized the project. The first step was to analyze the user experience and the user interface, because the client, even if they are not selling anything, but the client was very focused on this topic. We want a website where people come into our website and they understand why they should buy an IT domain, or where is the whois feature. They wanted to give a very complete experience to the new users, the users of the new website. We then define the information architecture, which usually then goes to the menu, and the content types. I really like Drupal because it helps you to define your content types, right, or entities. Instead of WordPress, you have just pages and articles, and you have to invent something to make the website you want. Then the wireframe and the graphic design to define each content type, so how should it look, and of course the graphic. Then we started developing the website, front end and back end. This is one of those simple websites where the front end and the back end, they are not disconnected, so we just use the Bootstrap framework and we built the template together with the backend, so nothing very strange. Usability test and go live. So since it's a public company, we also had we had few focus groups to check if the analysis of the UX and then the implementation of this UX were done as the user would. So we made the usability test and then we managed to go live. I have to say we should have 5 months to release this website. It ended up to go live after 1 year, so it was a bit longer. So where to start when you're project managing something like this, which is actually, as you already saw, it's not a complicated website. It was more about keeping the people together and the client together with us. But there are some tools which are very useful and mandatory, I can say, to manage a project, even if it's small or bigger than this. The work breakdown structure is a deliverable-oriented breakdown of the project. So you basically write down every single step you have to do to build this website, from the analysis, I'm going to show you later, from the analysis to development, with the people who are working in every single step, and the timing. So this is the main tool I suggest you to use. And then the Gantt chart is basically a graphic representation of the VBS, so everybody can understand in a single view what's happening or is going to happen. Some project managers, once they have the Gantt chart, and I'm going to show it, but once they have the Gantt chart, they think like it's the Bible. So we have a deadline tomorrow. If we don't do it, we are dead. So it's called deadline. But sometimes it's the customer that moves the deadline because they're not ready. So if the project manager is not able to keep the team together and to focus the client on its job, because usually if you go late, it's customer's fault, then everybody's going to be very crazy. So this is a simplified version because it was like very long. So I simplified it of this project. So we started with the documentation creation, which is the breakdown structure. So everybody in the team was able to understand how the project will be and who is going to do what and when. So basically it's this. Oh, I'm late already. So the first part was the analysis, and you can see which activity is going to be done from which one and the timeline. You usually put in the VBS or a Gantt the exact day you start the activity and you end the activity. But if you don't know where to start, you can just put the week. And as you see, 20 weeks is exactly 5 months. But when it comes to the client feedbacks, usually you lose a lot of weeks. So that's why we basically ended 1 year later. Most of the troubles went where the clients had to give us the content, because if a client already has a website, they just think they can get the old content and put to the new website, which is easy. The problem is the new website is very different from the old one, always. So content, even if it was Drupal 6 and now it's Drupal 8, content types are very different. They ask for different features. So I can say half of the content of the old website was copied to the new website. In the other half, they have to make it, and this is where we had troubles, and we then finished the go live 1 year later, 5 months later. This is the Gantt, so basically it's the graphical representation of the UBS. So you just put the activities, the people, and the timing on a graph. You can use this kind of tool, which is Camp Project, but there are online many for free. But this one, you can just use Excel or Google Sheet, and it's the most important. This one, you can use again many free tools, but usually we do it if the client asks, because if not, UBS it's enough. This is the new website. We focused especially on this part with the UX, and this is I took a screenshot out because it's in the footer. At the end of the day, the accessibility matter was only to put this on the footer. So, well, we didn't get to use many JavaScripts to have a creative on-page or animations, whatever. So you cannot use them, but it's just about having the buttons that help the user to have bigger fonts or smaller fonts, and this is about to having a different colors, so black backgrounds and white text. So it's easier than people think. This is the Find Your IT part. Well, the website is only in Italian and English, so also for the multi-language side, it was not very difficult. And this, where to put this and what to write here, it was the UX analysis who told us how to do it. This is the content part, the main content part, where every content type is shown together in a view, but I guess I don't have to tell you this. The project, as said, it was not very complicated, not many content types, but 50 views, so more views than content types. Because they just wanted to put everything everywhere, so we had to build many different views with the same content types. So lessons to learn, I'm going a bit faster. If you have questions, then maybe we have 5 minutes. So strategy first. I know you are mostly developers, but if you know the strategy, or if you don't know the strategy, ask for it, because if you know why you are building the website and what is the goal of the website, I think you will write a better website. So take a look at the visual communication panel, which is free. Accessibility is a pain in the ass if you want it to be, at least in Italy, I don't know in other countries. Content is king. Most of the problems we have in the Drupal project, not only this one, but always, is the client who saying, I have the content, and at the end of the day, they don't have the content. And also, project management is more about keeping people together and not about task tools. I didn't mention Asana, Trello, and other project management tools. You can use it, Asana is very complicated, and we use it when there is like 20 or 30 people involved in the project, because you cannot use emails for when there is 2 people. But it's about keeping people together and check if they are doing their job. So you need to remember, I think, is that the work breakdown structure is the main tool you should use. But also keep in mind that the client won't most probably do the same. They will be always late. So don't stress your team if the client is late, because usually a bad project manager, they say, oh, the client is late, so we have to work faster because they are late. This is going to stress the team, and eventually you are still going to be late, but everybody is stressed. All the team members must read the documentation. This one is important, because sometimes the UX designer doesn't read the project manager documentation, or the graphic designer, or the developer. So if you don't know the whole project, then you're going to maybe build a lot of content types, or you are going to manage a big backend, and then you made something wrong because you are not in line with the documentation. And please do not use the CC in the email to all members. So with 12 people, you don't want to send to everybody every email you have, because they are going to reply to everybody, and it's going to be a mess. And try to avoid offline meetings. Well, with the public administration, it's very difficult, but they wanted to meet, I don't know, every week for no reasons. So if the project manager is good, it can make the client understand that a Skype call of 3 people will do the job. So that's very important. Also, and I'm done, we are looking for developers as partner all over the world. So if you want to work with us, just write to David, which is my business partner, and we can work together. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you. Hi. You mentioned about the communication team, the challenge. So, how did you manage this? Okay. So, how did you manage this with 3 different companies, especially in communication between UX designers, graphic designers with tech staff? I mean, there was a communication, or it was a different team in a different building, and no communication at all, and deal with what they produce. You have to deal with it. That is my first question, and the second being the harder. How did you manage gaps in project? So you have work to do, and you have to wait for the time. What do? Who pays?
Yes, good question. Thank you. Well, the first one, yes, the UX team was a different one in a different part of Italy than the graphic designer, which was near us, so that was good. At the beginning, the UX specialists, they also asked to build the graphics, because it would be easier, but the project was built by the main contractor differently. So yes, that was a problem, but and yes, we, as you see here, we had like 1 week between the client feedback and the UX wireframe and graphic concept, and then in the same week we should have done the graphic design. So if it was the same company, it would be possible. Here we lost a lot of time because of that. So the UX designer was thinking about a kind of website, the graphic designer was thinking about another kind of website. We managed to go at the end of the project, because that is a problem that can stick you, I don't know, forever, because of the documentation. So we shared every documentation we have with everyone. We made a lot of Skype calls to keep everybody in line. And here, instead of 1 week, it was like 3 months. Yes, but it was important because the client wanted to do this very specifically, so they understood it took longer, but they were happy anyway because they saw we were working to do this. And the gaps, which were mostly in this part about the content, also in the feedbacks, because if you want to go on with the project, you may want to work even without the client feedback. But in this case, what was not the problem. The problem was when we started to upload the content and there was no content. So who is paying for it? In this case, us, because the budget was that, and we were not going to ask for more money, also because it was a public company. I can tell you, so that is why also we went other 3 months later, but I can tell you what we do with normal clients, with private companies, so their time is worth as much as ours. We usually just phone every day, everyone, to get the content. And then at the end of the day, it's the company who's building the website who is losing money or time. Because if you don't release the project, maybe you don't get the money. So that is a problem. It's always on you. You cannot share it with anyone. Sometimes we have some projects where the client is stuck with the content, or always with the content. And we just have to wait because even if we write the content, we have to get something to start with, and if we don't have that, we cannot write. So that is the part, content and written content is always the part where you're usually stuck, and you have to just push the client to give you the content you need, because otherwise you're paying this delay.
Wasn't it possible to divide the development process from the content process? I mean, it's usually possible to put 2 or 5 typical content and keep going with development. Why in this case you have to start and wait for?
Yeah, well, we stopped here and the website was done. So usually the website is done and it lacks only the content. So we do that. We usually do that. But anyway, if you have no content, some kind of views or some kind of stuff you have to check twice, one before the content, one after. So it's more work. But I couldn't find any trick to manage this.
Thank you. My question about this VBS. So I can see that development, backend development was only 2 weeks for 2 developers. Is it right?
Yes. Backend development. Yeah. No, it was 3 weeks from here to here. Yeah.
Okay. And about content and migration, did you migrate all the content, or you will need to manually move the content from Drupal 6?
Copy paste, yes.
and why you didn't migrate using Drupal migration?
Because the architectural information was very different. There were brand new content they had to make. So the pages, normal pages like who we are, what we do, blah blah. Like these parts, well, they were not so big, so copy paste was easy. Usually, if we have a lot of content, like thousands of products, we just build an importer. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
was the client glad about your work, about content? You mentioned that you work on project because of to be more content oriented. So my question is about this one.
Yes, yes, they are still very happy, especially about this part. I mean, you can like or not like the graphic design, but they are very happy because they didn't have before a content type for the project, which are basically case studies, events. They are now doing a lot of events in Italy, and this is another content type: news, of course, and the press room. So now they have a lot of content types where they easily update their content, because I also like Drupal because you can build your content types, but also then the client can easily update every single content type, and views is a good module. No, it's no more a model, but you can use it to put the content everywhere in the website, and it's very good. So yes, they are very satisfied, and this was the main part. Because the other pages are basic pages, so nothing very strange. But this is the part where is the most of the content. So.
Slow learner. Did you make opening reports, for example, for traffic and closing reports to calculate the change after and before?
That's a good question. I should have put this in the presentation. I forgot actually, but the answer is no, because the IT team do not want to have any analytics or statistical application like Google Analytics. So there is no Google Analytics. There wasn't before, and there is not now, because they are very, focused on security and privacy issues. So there is nothing that we can use to say how much traffic they have before and how much traffic they have now. Sadly. So thank you, everybody.